Hello everyone and welcome back. Today we're going to be taking a look at the Diapet 1/64 scale Thomas and Percy engine characters, and this is sort of a delayed video. I've actually had these models sitting on my workbench since the 28th of last month, and due to time restraints and my current work schedule, I just haven't been able to get around to looking at them till now. But yeah, we're going to go ahead and look at these in this video. And something else of interest today, I managed to pick up this cool looking 1969 Plymouth Barracuda 340 at Walmart. So that'll be a nice addition to my 1/64 scale collection. But anyways, let's go ahead and look at the trains. So like I said, we're going to be looking at Thomas. His number is DK-9001. And also along for the ride is Percy, number DK-9002. And for those that don't know about the Diapet Thomas and Friends models, Diapet is basically a range of 1/64 scale resin vehicles produced by a Japanese company that started the range back in 2018. And they've done several characters like Thomson Percy here were released back in 2018. They also did Hero, James, and Birdie the same year. And apparently in 2019 they are doing Gordon, Annie, and Clarabelle. And those models are supposed to be out, I've heard rumors, sometime this summer. So whether that's true or not, I don't know. I wouldn't take it as the gospel personally. But anyways, I'm going to go ahead and show you the boxes here, and they're both the same, so I'll just show you one. And while I'm doing that, I also want to take time to thank the YouTuber XtremeTrainz, because he actually did a review on all the current Diapet models that are out right now. And I had a question on scaling for these and track compatibility, gauge width, all that. And he was able to answer my question on these, which helped me to be a little more confident to purchase these for my 1/64 scale collection. So yeah, big thanks to XtremeTrainz, and I'll be sure to leave a link to his channel as well as the Diapet review videos if you want to go check them out. But anyways, I think we can go ahead and get into unboxing these now. So one thing I did want to mention is that I've actually had Thomas out of his packaging already. It was one of those deals. I got these models in the mail, and I was just so excited I had to take Thomas out at least just to see how these looked. And Percy, on the other hand, he's this will be the first time I've taken him out of the box. But out of interest, looking on the box here, they say high quality miniature model, and I'm curious to see just how high quality these little trains are. But go ahead and get Percy out here. Alright. And there's Thomson Percy. We'll go ahead and take a closer look. So I'm going to look at Thomas first. Why? Because he's the #1 engine, of course. And I gotta say, if we're talking quality, I definitely see a lot in this model just at first glance. Because there's quite a bit of detail. You can see here we got lamp irons as well as a headlamp going along the boiler here. We got filler caps for the water tanks. Also, there's his whistle or whistles. Nice gold paint on those. And on the back here we also got a tail lamp and a coal load in the bunker. And interestingly, we got cab windows on the back here. Some manufacturers tend to leave that little bit of detail off of their product. But another place to look for detail, or more like accuracy, is the face. And I gotta say that that definitely looks like the character we know in the TV series. Diapet definitely put a lot of effort into that. And I always say that the face on a toy or a model can usually make or break a character. And you know, some manufacturers, they'll just throw on whatever and say, oh, you know, it's Thomas. But it's nice to see that Diapet went the extra mile and put an accurate face like this on. So this model definitely gets high points for that. And one more place in terms of detail is underneath here. And we can see that Diapet actually has piston detail in this area right here. Now, one thing I don't like about this little detail is, you know, it puts a transparent bottom on the model, which I don't care for. It would have been nice if they had brought the black plastic the whole way down and maybe left this open, but I think they were trying to go for something maybe more kid-friendly, so they wanted to have this detail in here, and they went with the transparent bottom so they could have that detail enclosed to avoid damage or anything. But either way, that doesn't really take away from the appeal of the model. One other complaint I do have with this is that the Diapet stuff, as far as I know, they're all missing the little chain link coupler detail on the buffer beams, and that's something that's kind of disappointing, but I don't know. I think Diapet still delivered a very lovely model for what these are, and they're probably the most accurate that I've seen in terms of any Thomas toy line. So yeah, Diapet definitely has a nice range on their hands, and hopefully they keep up this same amount of quality in years to come. Alright, so here's Percy, and just like Thomas, he's got quite a bit of detail. We can see we got lamp irons here and the headlamp. Got suspension springs, and I'm not sure if these are toolboxes or sandboxes. Somebody will have to let me know on that. But we also got the gold detailing on the whistle as well as the dome here. And on the back, again, we got a tail lamp as well as a coal load in the bunker. And something I noticed here, and I think XtremeTrainz mentioned this in his review on the Diapet Percy, is you can see the cab windows on the back are not fully painted. And my guess is that Diapet may have intended for the coal load to be taller than it is, but my personal opinion, that definitely takes points away from the model. But again, like Thomas, we don't have the detail for the chain link coupler on the front or rear. And interestingly, Percy does not have any detailing in this transparent bit on the bottom here, but that's kind of understandable because his pistons and cylinders are right here. So the fact that he doesn't have anything down there basically makes sense. But one would think that they could have just went and made this, the black plastic go the whole way down here and call it good, but I don't know. Overall, Percy's pretty good too, and forgot to look at the face, but again, that is pretty reminiscent of the character we know from the TV series. So, yeah, again, good points to Diapet for that. And I'm not really sure there's anything else to talk about in terms of, details on these trains. They're definitely highly detailed, good quality on them. They look good. And I can't really see too many faults with these. So I think Diapet's definitely got a good range on their hands. Okay, so one thing I've been curious about with these Diapet models right from the start is scaling. How well do these models scale in with other 1/64 scale vehicles or accessories? And as you can see right here, I've lined up some 1/64 scale figures that I have. And personally, just based on what I'm seeing right here, Thomson Percy looked to scale in pretty close, if not perfect. I mean, they may be a little bit on the small side compared to these figures, but even if it's just a fraction of a difference, I cannot really tell. I think this honestly looks pretty good. And another thing I want to do is take a look at Thomson Percy in comparison with some 1/64 scale cars, and we'll go ahead and do that next. Okay, so again we're looking at Thomson Percy, and I put in some 1/64 scale cars from my collection, and just like the figures that I showed earlier in the comparison here, Thomson Percy look pretty close to in scale, if not, truly 1/64 scale, just like these cars. Now, granted, something I should mention is that for those that don't know, Thomson Percy are British locomotives, and of course I've got American cars here, but I don't see where European cars would be much different, and would throw off the scaling in any way, shape, or form. Now, something else I want to do is, I'll take these cars away here for a moment. I want to bring in some 1/64 scale tractors that I have as well, and, see how those look in comparison. And again, it looks pretty good. I mean, I don't see where Thomson Percy are that far out of scale if they are not truly 1/64 scale. Now, there's another comparison I want to do with these models, but first thing I want to do is check track compatibility, which we're going to go ahead and do now. Okay, so I've got two different 1/64 scale track systems here. The first being Ertl, which came in the Farm Country Freight set, which I believe they released back in the early 90s. It's all plastic, and as to whether or not it's truly 1/64 scale train track, personally couldn't tell you, but honestly have my doubts. And over here is American Models track. These are some pieces I had left over from display projects I've done in the past. And for those that don't know, American Models, they're a manufacturer up in South Lyon, Michigan, that does S-gauge model trains. And, you know, they got a whole 8,500 square foot warehouse where they do everything. And being they're a reputable manufacturer of S-gauge trains, that basically has me confident that these tracks here are actually 1/64 scale or S-gauge or S-scale or whatever you want to call it. They're truly, you know, to scale. And I'm curious to see whether or not Thomson Percy, or any of the Diapet models for that matter, will work on this American Models track. So first thing I'm going to do is take a measurement of the flange weight gap on Thomson Percy. Okay, so I got my calipers here, and I'm going to take a measurement of the flange weight gap, and XtremeTrainz told me it was about 20 millimeters. So just going to look here. Looks like 22.18 millimeters, which is 0.872 inches. And real quick, I'm just going to check Percy here, and Percy looks to be the same as well. So I'm not sure if all the Diapet models are the same, but hopefully they are. I got an actual S-gauge locomotive here, and I'm going to go ahead and take a measurement of the flange weight gap on this as well. And we're looking at 8.35 inches, which is roughly 21.23 millimeters. So that's not too far off from what the Diapet stuff is, and I'm pretty confident that we'll be on a winner here. Alright, so we'll start with the Erdl track first. Get Thomas on there. And seems to be working fine, no issues. And I know the Erdl track is a little wider than the American Models, but yeah, Thomas still works on the American Models track as well. And that being the case, I'm pretty confident Percy will have no issues either. Get him on here. And the American Models, same. So in terms of track compatibility with these two, I say we're golden. So since we're good in terms of track compatibility, I'd say we're ready for our next day out with Thomas event as well. And what I'm showing you here is the final comparison, and this is a big reason why I wanted to get my hands on a Diapet Thomas. You know, I've been wanting to do this sort of setup for a couple years now, and I just could not find a suitable 1/64 scale Thomas to do it with. Originally, I was debating about getting one of these Trackmaster Thomas toys and cutting it up and altering it to look more appropriate for a 1/64 scale display, but I just don't see where there's any way I could have took something like this and made it look as good as what you have here. And I bet you there's a couple DCP guys out there gonna see this video and probably go out and buy one of these little guys just so they can have a low boy load like this. Because, I mean, you look at it and it looks like your full-size Thomas on his way being transported to a Day Out with Thomas event. It's that simple. And yeah, definitely a sharp little trucking setup right here. So, what are my final thoughts on these Diapet Thomas models? Well, I feel the manufacturer has a good range on their hands, and hopefully they can continue to introduce more characters in years to come. Personally, I'd say that the Diapet Thomas range is far better than anything Mattel's putting out these days, and maybe it sounds a little too generous, but I'm going to give these models 5 stars out of 5. I feel what little negatives they have don't outweigh the positives, and I think they'd look great on a 1/64 scale display or in a collection. So I do have plans to get more of these Diapet models as well, and I'm also anticipating the release of Andy and Clarabelle so I can have them to go along with Thomas. Again, I want to thank XtremeTrainz for his help in getting these models, and as for the rest of you viewers out there, let me know what your thoughts are on these models as well. So yeah, that's going to do it. Take care, and I'll see you all next time.